Deandre Jordan had game highs of 24 points and 20 rebounds in the Clippers' win over Houston. The Clippers played their third game without Blake, but Jordan has filled the gap. Jordan, who's 22 points and career-high 27 rebounds, powered the Clippers to a 115-98 victory over Dallas on Monday night. Shot 6 for 8 from the field, extending his NBA record streak to 39 consecutive games, shooting at least 50%. Last night, Doc Rivers made the case it's unfortunate, a travesty that he's not an all-star.
I just think that DJ should be on the All-Star team. I think it's a travesty. I really do. A guy that's getting 27 and 22 and 20s and 20s and is not on the team. And, you know, you play both sides of the floor. And just the one side of the floor keeps getting all the credit and not the other side of the floor. And the other side is more important. There's never been a team that's won a title without being a decent defensive team or a great defensive team. Yet that side keeps getting forgotten about in the All-Star game. And DJ should be on. We all know it, but that's all right. DJ knows that we're playing for bigger things than All-Star games.
Every year, coaches make the case for their players, but he's not the only one weighing in. Magic tweeting this: I normally don't pull for the Clippers, but I was pulling for Deandre Jordan to make the All-Star team. He deserves it. Another point guard great, Isaiah Thomas. Deandre Jordan deserves to be an all-star. Stephen A. Smith, you know the Clippers team very well. Talk about him a lot on the show. Obviously, Doc Rivers says that he deserves to be an all-star, if not a reserve, as well as the other greats weighing in. Does he have a point? He
has a point. Deandre Jordan, to me, has the potential to be the best big man in the game. He's clearly one of the top 3 big men in the game, probably top 2. He's a defensive stalwart. There's no doubt about that. He's incredibly formidable. I'm very fond of him as a person as well. I talk to him all the time whenever I'm out at a Clippers game because I got a lot of love for his game. He's incredibly athletic. He runs the floor. There's never a shortage of effort. His problem is he's limited in terms of a post offense, and he is an absolutely positively horrific free throw shooter, which is the only thing I ever get on him about. My Lord, they can't play you a lot in the fourth quarter because you can't hit free throws. He's shooting 41% from the free throw line. That is abysmal, but that is the only thing that I can really say about his game. The thing is, here's the problem. Although I agree with Doc Rivers and Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas, the problem is, who are you going to take off? DeMarcus Cousins, to me, is the best big man in the game. When I think about Tim Duncan, just a model of consistency, excellence, professionalism, championship hardware. I know you're just supposed to go by the season, you know, but you talk about numbers. My question is, what are the San Antonio Spurs without Tim Duncan? You know, we can make a legitimate argument that the Clippers, as formidable as they are and as formidable as they would be if Blake Griffin was in the lineup healthy and DeAndre was out, the bottom line is you would still be a relatively good team. Even though you could say the same about San Antonio, it's hard to imagine what they would be without Tim Duncan. Dirk Nowitzki is somebody that, despite his greatness and future Hall of Fame status, has gone vastly and rapidly underappreciated throughout the years. Monte Ellis is obviously that closer for you, more so than even Dirk in this day and age, but Dirk can still get it done. Numbers wise, as far as I'm concerned, when I look at DeAndre, averaging 13.8 rebounds, a premier shot blocker in this game, obviously a premier rebounder in this game, incredibly formidable defensively, although I'm inclined to say, look, who are you going to take off? Because that's my trouble. When Doc Rivers makes the point, because I just heard his sound, I hadn't heard that sound last time. When Doc Rivers makes the point, Skip, there are 2 sides of the ball. That's where it really resonates with me, because we both know defense wins championships. Points wins games. Points makes the highlights and, you know, on SportsCenter and everything. But defense wins championships. And DeAndre Jordan is unquestionably the most formidable defensive big man in the game. So when you look at it from that perspective, I can't disagree with Doc Rivers and them. It's just that it's hard for me to say.
Is he beyond Noah? I'm just throwing Noah out.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Oh. Noah is a great defensive player, but Noah isn't the shot blocker that DeAndre doesn't get credit for not just blocking shots, but changing a lot of shots.
He does.
Noah will just lock you down.
He does.
You know, plus he'll draw offensive fouls, he'll do those things. DeAndre will make you scared to come inside because it's going into the bleachers. That's the kind of force that DeAndre Jordan is. So I agree with Doc Rivers, but I'm also torn because All-Star, it's not just about what you're doing in a particular season. If it's in the ballpark with one another, history, consistency, legitimacy, all those things come into play. DeAndre, do I want him on the All-Star game? Yes. Do I get rid of Tim Duncan and Dirk Nowitzki? Oh, that's tough because DeMarcus Cousins has to be on there. He has to be.
Okay, I'm going to say this as a Spurs supporter.
Okay.
I wish that DeAndre Jordan was on the All-Star team and Tim Duncan was not.
Okay.
I would say that selfishly because I loved it last year when Duncan got, I thought, snubbed, and he made the NBA pay for it down the stretch last year and through the playoffs.
Got it.
So I would love to see him further motivated through the second half by not making the All-Star game again. Now let's get back to Doc's statement. Let's not be prisoners of the moment. Would Doc have said this same thing Sunday after that debacle that they played in Oklahoma City? Remember that one? We did it Monday on the show. Yeah. DeAndre Jordan disappeared in that game. He was getting abused occasionally by Mitch McGary in the paint. Mm-hmm. Mitch McGary was out of his mind. But again, it was one of those days.
Mitch McGary has been playing well.
I know. He didn't last night against Memphis, but they played great. And we're going to talk about them later in the show. The Thunder. They are coming, man.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Like I told you they would.
Okay, so my point is DeAndre's games can be uneven because all of a sudden since February 2nd, he's had 3 20-20 games since February 2nd. Interspersed by that game in Oklahoma City that's inexplicably awful. But the 3 20-20s are the first 20-20s in his whole career. So all of a sudden, maybe it's no Blake for part of that period, he has just taken off. And yet when I look at the numbers, if I just do pure numbers versus Tim Duncan, I would put DeAndre on over Tim Duncan, just on pure numbers. And by the way, the Clippers at this moment, now at the break, have a slightly better record than my Spurs have. So you got to give them just on pure record a slight edge. And DeAndre Jordan leads the league in rebounding. He leads the league in field goal percentage. He is second in shots blocked. Well, Duncan can't compete with those kind of numbers. Now, what does intangibly Tim Duncan do for the Spurs? That's a whole nother conversation. And by the way, in Pop's 1,000th victory the other night, Duncan had a fourth quarter block of his protege Roy Hibbert from behind. It was spectacular. It was a game changer. Hibbert had like a layup, and you know how Roy is. He won't dunk it. He's going to like lay it in. And Duncan blocked him. Yeah, and Duncan blocked him from behind. Well, is that not classic Tim Duncan? No Duncan. He's just the wiliest, smartest, savviest post player that we've ever seen in the league. Okay, so those are the intangibles that don't show in these stats. Okay. But let me finish on the free throw shooting. Okay. It's just horrendously bad. Now, was Shaq bad? Was Wilt bad? Yes, they were awful too. But 41% ranks 135th in the league. And last night, DeAndre, in a victory, was 6 for 26 from the free throw line. Doc left him in the fourth and just said, okay, go ahead and foul him. And he made 7 out of 16 in the fourth quarter, which by his standards are, that was pretty good, actually. That kind of hung, you know, that let them hang on and win the game. Although it did help that the Rockets were 9 for 45 from three-point range. 9 for 45? Are you kidding me? Okay, so maybe we should throw all this out, but it was a prisoner of the moment. It was a good play by Doc. He wants to light a fire under DeAndre going into the second half. You got snubbed and you belonged. Now the motivation should be advantage Clippers. So, again, can you make the case he belongs? Sure you can. And I agree with Magic and Isaiah. They're right. These numbers scream that he belonged on the team, plus his defensive prowess and just changing shots that don't show in the statistics.
Well, the thing about it, let me answer your question. First of all, you're right that Doc Rivers would not have said that after his performance Sunday. But the reason why that argument goes out the window is because he was saying it before Sunday. I was in L.A. I've spoken to Doc Rivers on several occasions. He's always raving about DeAndre Jordan. He's very fond of the guy. He loves what he brings to the table. Secondly, you have to take into account the system that the San Antonio Spurs run compared to that of the Clippers. The Clippers, obviously, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin are options. Jamal Crawford is able to boogie on anybody when he comes into the game and do what he does because he's one of the premier bench players in the NBA today. There's no doubt about that. But DeAndre Jordan is really not an option offensively outside of alley-oop dunks. This is what he does. Other than that, he goes and gets his own rebounds and makes sure he puts the ball in or he'll score on the break. He's an absolute skywalker. This is what he does. So when you look at you bring into the percentage, shooting 72% from the field now, and he's never shot less than 60% from the field in his career, that means nothing to me. And the reason why that means nothing to me is because 90% of it is on dunks, number one. And number two, it's basically, you know, he doesn't get plays called for him. Tim Duncan, you got the ball, the floor is spread around. Guys are sharing the basketball, hitting the open man. He's primarily used as a decoy until tell he's an option.
He's a great passer.
And he's a great passer.
Oh.
I mean, offensively, DeAndre Jordan is not in the same class as Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
That is just a fact.
Yeah.
All right. Defensively, Tim Duncan is smart, savvy, formidable. He's a Hall of Famer. We all know what he is. DeAndre Jordan is just a freak of nature. So, again, we look at DeAndre Jordan, what he brings to the Clippers organization. Of course, he deserves to be an all-star. But at the same time, who you taking off? It can't be DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins.
I'm with you. I gave you that one.
It cannot be DeMarcus Cousins.
Right.
So then now we're saying Tim Duncan, and forget your affection for the Spurs and how you want Tim Duncan to be motivated. I personally don't think Tim Duncan pays any attention to that because he doesn't need to be motivated because he's such a consummate professional. He's going to do what he does. And to me, more of a motivation last year was the fact that they had lost to Miami the year before. More so than the All-Star game. He wanted that bad.
Duncan is a quiet storm, though.
I understand that, but he didn't need it. I mean, you don't need a storm. There is no greater storm than losing in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, particularly after you lost Game 6 on Ray Allen's jump shot, and then Game 7 came about.
Thank you.
Of course, I'm here for you. And then after that, in Game 7, when Tim Duncan missed that hook in the lane that he always makes, I felt so bad for him. That was the motivation all of last season.
Hook, it was a bunny.
That's right, it was a bunny. You're right. So you look at DeAndre, in the end, what it comes down to, Skip, man, is that, listen, he's a big-time player, but you know what? Folks that monitor the All-Star festivities are saying to DeAndre, with this pick, could you give us some consistency?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Okay.
That's what they're saying.
So can I give you my bottom line here on this discussion, just so the Spurs fans aren't irate with me? If these two teams meet in the playoffs, I'll take Tim Duncan any night over DeAndre Jordan in a playoff game.
Of course.
Just for the record.
All right, so Adam Silver could have put him on the roster, but he chose Dirk, obviously, replacing Anthony Davis. This is what Jordan had to say. DeAndre goes, next year I probably have to average 20 points per game, and maybe it will be something that they look at. He's happy for Dirk.
Well, just as an aside, DeAndre Jordan, what ticks him off about the All-Star festivities is that you should be voting by position. They don't respect the sense of position.
No.
They'll put a bunch of guys in there that are forwards and guards and all of that stuff.
There are a lot of
That's
issues that people have about the All-Star festivities in general that obviously Adam Silver said he would like to address sooner than later. Again, you've heard what they had to say about DeAndre Jordan. Doc Rivers says it's a travesty. The fellas have weighed in. We want to know what you think at home. We're doing a Twitter vote. Hashtag All-Star Travesty. Do you believe DeAndre Jordan should be an All-Star? We will give you the results a little later on in the show. Coming up next, though, one day after they stripped the title from the Jackie Robinson West Little League team, more details are available. The gentleman will respond.